What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Canes Takes. I am going to be your host for this week's episode. My name is Julian Kiefitz. I'm joined by my co-hosts Aaron Jaffe and Dan Bairstow. Guys, a lot of stories to get into. Let's first start off with week one of the MLB season. A lot of storylines, a lot of exciting things going on. Today, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but I think the big story around MLB today is Clayton Kershaw took a perfect game through 7 innings. And then he was pulled after just 80 pitches. And I think the big controversy today is perfect games. I mean, there have been only 23 in over a century of history of Major League Baseball. And when you have a situation where Kershaw, he's one of the greatest pitchers he's the greatest pitcher of this generation, hands down. He had a chance to throw that perfect game, taken out, and they lost that perfect game. Guys, what are your thoughts on this decision by Dave Roberts?
I think it's just another example of analytics, how it's taking over baseball and ruining the fan experience a little bit, because it's kind of them telling them in a way to take the pitcher out in an earlier game like this and not let him ride when such a historic game would be for a legendary career. It's really tough to see. I mean, I'm sure he would have got it. There's already the play going on in the 7th inning that kind of propelled the perfect game from really going on. It would have been great to see, and it really hurts the MLB from a viewing perspective to not let these historic performances play out.
Yeah, I mean, Clayton Kershaw, you gotta believe he would have got it done. Just the kind of guy, that is he is. But I mean, early in the season, the guy's 34 years old. You don't want to risk anything. But I mean, yeah, you gotta keep him in. You have to.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at the stat line for Kershaw in this game, it was like, this is vintage Clayton Kershaw. 7 innings, no runs, no hits, no walks, 13 strikeouts. I mean, I feel like Kershaw, he said he was like, he didn't blame, he wasn't upset about it. He's a pro. He said, blame the lockout, blame me not picking up a ball until recently for this decision. Don't blame Dave Roberts. But I got to think a part of Clayton Kershaw is like, man, I was rolling through 7.
Of course, yeah.
I could have done that.
Right, he's never going to blame Dave Roberts. I mean, like you said, he's a professional. He's got to be okay with the decision, but you got to be so angry deep down inside on that. Like, remember when Blake Snell was having a great performance in the World Series a couple years ago against the Dodgers, and he got pulled. And like, it's tough to see in that situation when you feel like you're dealing as a pitcher. It's so hard to step out of that your own kind of perspective and think that this would be in any way a smart move for the team.
I think analytics, as being a massive baseball fan, I think analytics are a good thing for the game in some ways. But I think when you're messing with, a historical performance, the way Kershaw was rolling today, I don't think it is a good thing for the game. And I think you got to let a ball player play. Well, that's one storyline. Another one is, I talk about it because it's my Mets. Have been getting plunked like crazy. Our boys have been pin cushions to start the season. We've been hit like, I think 7 or 8 times in 7 games. We are 5-2, so we're not fearing anyone. But nobody. I mean, this has brought up a lot of stuff like is hitting a batsman. Is that proper retaliation? Is that okay in the ethics of the game? What do you guys think about this?
I mean, look, you can't never in sports can you retaliate. I mean, these guys are grown men, and I think. Look, I know that kind of brawl. It's an exciting part of the game. We see it in hockey. But I mean, we just can't have it anymore. The players, ultimately their safety's at risk, and I think retaliation is ultimately worse than instigating in the first place.
And it's kind of, once again, part of the unwritten rules of baseball when it comes to being hit by pitches and everything. It's tough to really retaliate on such a big scale at this point, especially where the MLB is at now. So I mean, it's a tough perspective. It's kind of a gray area, but I would be I mean, I'm not against getting hit by pitches, but in excess like that, it's a tough decision to say.
Absolutely. I wanted to touch on one or two more quick things. One thing I know our friend Tanner wants us to touch on is the MLB Sunday night, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. He is very much against players being interviewed mid-game. What do you guys think about this? I know that who was saying, who was it? I think it was Alex Verdugo or something, or Kike Hernandez was interviewed mid-game, and he really didn't seem to be into it. And I got to kind of agree that it takes away a little bit from the game. What's going on the field. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. I mean, I could definitely see how my own concentration would be kind of compromised if I was going to have to get interviewed while I'm in the middle of this. I mean, I can understand when players are getting frustrated. These guys are trying to play for their livelihoods, get their money, everything they want. They don't. The last thing they want to do is try to have to answer questions in the middle of their job. So, I mean, I understand the anger, but I mean, it's a cool feature for us as a viewer, but it seems a little unfair to the players themselves.
I mean, absolutely. I think we see sometimes like coaches in the NBA, they'll get interviewed mid-game, but these players they get locked in almost at the beginning, and I think as the game's increasing, like when a game is so close, the intensity is increasing throughout the game, and I think interviewing a player mid-game kind of interrupts that focus. So I don't think there's any room for that in the game.
Yeah, I think that it's just like on the part of ESPN. Obviously, they want to create an interactive experience. You kind of want the fans at home to get to know the players.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like as a baseball fan, the action is on the field, and I can admit it. Baseball's a slow game, so that's why we got to keep kind of the action on the field. And so I completely agree with you guys. One more thing I wanted to touch on quickly with baseball. It was great to see as a Mets fan. I'm kind of sad he's gone, but Noah Syndergaard made a great start, 5 1/3 for the Angels. They got the win in that one. It was great to see him. They got their first win. I don't believe he himself earned the victory, but the Angels got their first win of the season behind an excellent start from Noah Syndergaard. Actually, that he did get the first. He did get a win. So it was great to see Thor back on the hill. He was dealing, and like I said in the last time we spoke, I'll be rooting for the Angels this season.
Another storyline for that Angels team, Shohei Ohtani started off pretty slow batting was start the year and didn't have the greatest pitch performance either in his first start. I mean, you saw the video all over social media of him trying to resuscitate the bat. I don't think it's anything to be worried about, but I think it's telling you something to keep an eye on.
I mean, that's why there's 162 games. I think
Right.
I have no doubt that Shohei's going to pick it up. But yeah, absolutely a slow start. And in that division that the Angels are in with the Astros and Mariners vying for playoff contention, I think there's no room to slow down. It's all about getting off to a hot April because you can't afford to fall back in the standings. All right, let's shift gears and talk about the NBA playoffs. Play-ins started yesterday. Guys, what did you think of these matchups?
So I was happy for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, it's been so long since they've gotten to really experience. They had one time in 2018 as an 8 seed where they kind of got bounced immediately. This is going to be their first real opportunity to win a playoff series since like Kevin Garnett was there. So I think that series between them and John Morant's Grizzlies is going to be actually very entertaining. And then the Clippers, I mean, they're fully healthy. You could really see them as one of the favorites in the West. Don't have Kawhi. I think they could I expect them to beat whoever wins the Spurs-Pelicans matchup. And I don't think they're going to pose much of a matchup to the Suns. But if they had Kawhi back, that would be a live game.
Yeah, and I mean another team last night that won, the Nets. They're going to be taking on the Celtics. What a series that's going to be. I think Celtics, they're playing better team basketball right now. You got Robert Williams down low, who's I think he's going to dominate the paint in this one. But I mean Kyrie Irving last night, 34 points, 12 of 15 shooting. I mean him and KD, they can get it done. They know how, and I just think I think the Celtics, they're going to want their revenge on the Nets. The Nets always do seem to get the better of Tatum, Brown. So I think that's going to be a fun series to watch for sure.
And I just wanted to say, I'm not like the biggest NBA fan, but something funny that I did find from last night was, of course, the Timberwolves beating the Clippers by 5 at home, and then everybody kind of celebrating like they just had won the NBA championship. And I think like LeBron tweeted something funny about it, and it was just like, I mean, look, I'm happy for, Patrick Beverley definitely had a chip on his shoulder after that win. He was kind of like he said in the press conference. I think it was cool to see him flex. flex on his former team, but at the same time, it's like, dude, Patrick Beverley had 7 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists. I don't exactly think that's like, the most impressive performance. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Well, if there's one thing that Patrick Beverley's good at doing, it's pissing people off.
Yeah.
I think that's his whole stick. He's got the chip on shoulder. He's a scrappy player. I kind of like how he operates. I know most people don't, just because for obvious reasons. But I think that Timberwolves team, that city hasn't done much to cheer for the past couple decades. I'm not totally against it, and really, like, they have a really young Boston team. I really think they could make some noise in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, another place to look at now for the Clippers. I mean, they're not out yet, and they're going to be playing the winner tonight of the Spurs and the Pelicans. Spurs 34-48 record this season. Pelicans 36-46. I mean, these guys, I don't think they should be playing for. They should even have a chance to make the playoffs at this point. I think the Clippers will be either of these teams. But I mean, what do you guys think of a team with a record 10 games under 500 having a chance to make the playoffs at this point?
It just kind of raises the pointlessness of the NBA regular season. Like, you see all these guys load managing and then just having an opportunity for 20 out of the 30 teams to get a spot in the playoffs, no matter what happens in the regular season, is kind of demotivates players. Like, if Kawhi Leonard returned right now, the Clippers could win a championship. They haven't had Paul George and Kawhi basically the whole season. Like, they should, and then the Lakers, for example, they didn't have Anthony Davis. They were finished 16 games under 500. Would it have really been fair to the Phoenix Suns if they had to play a fully healthy team after they were awful all season?
Yeah. And then on that same level too, you have teams not especially like the Clippers, not at full strength throughout the season, and then they're fighting for 8 seeds. Clippers, if they get in, they're going to be playing the Suns. I think the seeding is also it doesn't end up working out the way it should. I mean, Suns Clippers 1 versus 8 seed. You wouldn't expect that to be a series. Like, you just wouldn't.
Yeah, and I gotta say, again, I think that the playoffs should be reserved for those who show exceptional performance on the court during the regular season. So I think it's kind of ludicrous that you have a team that's 10 games under 500 making the playoffs. The playoffs are supposed to be, this is the height of competition for the regular season. And even before the play-in format, it was 8. The NHL is this way too, so it's not like I don't fault the NBA entirely for this format, but it was 8 and 8, which is 16, which is just a team over half the NBA. It's kind of ridiculous when you have more than half the league making it, and more than half of each conference making it. So I definitely think NBA is kind of lacking in competition for the playoffs in that regard.
Now, going back to the playing games in general, one of the winners, the Brooklyn Nets, I could actually see the big upset of the first round being the Nets, a 7 seed, losing to the 2 seed Celtics, which doesn't sound like an upset. But I think the Celtics, I mean, they've been the hottest team since the All-Star break. They've been one of the best defensive teams. Marcus Smart's about to win Defensive Player of the Year. Jason Tatum's been on fire. And the Nets, defensively, have been atrocious all year, especially with Kyrie Irving. Ben Simmons, if he comes back, that's such a big if at this point. I have no idea in what capacity he'll even be in on the floor. I mean, this Nets seems a little too chaotic. It seems a little too much going on. I feel like if they're going to make a real run, it's going to have to be next year for them.
Yeah, and I mean, with the Celtics, you got Jason Tatum leading this squad. I've seen a lot of talk recently about Tatum. Is he a true tier 1 star in the game? Do you put him up there in the top 10? Do you put him up there with a guy like Luka Doncic? Do you put him up there with a guy like Joel Embiid? And I think we're going to see. I think he's actually made it a lot further than some other of his competitors in the Eastern Conference so far than Joel Embiid. So I think we got to see what Tatum can do with Jaylen Brown, of course, that duo, always so competitive.
And speaking of the Eastern Conference, let's get into the tonight's play-in matchup for the Eastern Conference. It's going to be the Charlotte Hornets against the Atlanta Hawks in Atlanta. Guys, what do we think about this matchup at the outset?
I'm heavy leaning on the Atlanta Hawks to win this game tonight. If you just kind of look at the Hornets playing game last year, it was atrocious. I remember watching it. It was the first play-on game ever. And I remember watching being so disheartened by the entire idea. I thought LeBron might have been right. Those people should have been fired because the Pacers were up by 40 in like the third quarter. LaMelo Ball had his worst game as a pro. I think he'll obviously better this time around. I still think he can get exposed defensively. The Hawks have been there. They're Eastern Conference Finals a year ago. They've been in these tougher situations. I think it's going to be a very big uphill battle for the Hornets here.
Yeah, I mean, Hawks -5.5 in this one, definitely heavily favored. I think same record for both of these teams, and then they both have one star player out for them both. Hornets with Gordon Hayward out, but I mean, you got the Hawks with John Collins out, who I think is a more significant absence. And I don't know, the Hornets, they always seem to pull off huge upsets. They play team basketball. They play well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that game.
Yeah, I got to think, I think nothing's guaranteed in basketball. I think this is a pretty good Hawks team, though. And I got to, Trae Young is playing it. Trae Young is healthy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to think Trae Young is like the X factor for the Hawks. So I'm down for Atlanta. Go ahead. Yeah.
So I think the one big difference is why the Hawks are a playing team this year compared to last year. They were a comfortable 4th seed and reached the Eastern Conference Finals. I think Trae's playing just as spectacular. I think a lot of the role players have really struggled to kind of have their share, and I expect. But at the end of the day, in the game against the Hornets, that isn't that great defensively. I think it's one of those times Trae can take over and shut this door pretty quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another game. I think we should another matchup we should talk about. Warriors Nuggets. Steph Curry's status questionable. Been out the last couple of weeks. Could this Warriors team fall behind if they don't have Curry for these first few games?
It's possible if they don't have Curry, but I mean, as injured as the Warriors could be, I mean, the Nuggets are already so short. Right. I mean, just Nikola Jokic going in a playoff series, and they're going to have to rely on the players like Austin Rivers and Bones Allen creating their own shot. I think Jokic is an incredible player. He's in the MVP race for a reason. But, I mean, the Warriors, such a polished playoff team. I would take them to win it, but I would not put it past the Warriors to lose to the Grizzlies the second round.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have Klay Thompson step up for this team. It's gotta happen because
he was definitely very shaky to start off back from the injury. He's had a couple 30-point games to kind of close out the season without Steph. It actually might have been a good thing for him just to get some more touches. Yeah. But obviously, we need, if the Warriors want to win a championship, it's got to be Klay from 2018, 2017, the Game 6 killer.
Yeah. In that series, I gotta I just like the Warriors are back to the 3 seed this year. I gotta go with that playoff pedigree that they bring. I think Steph Curry's injury is not going to keep him out of this series, maybe 1 game at the most.
Yeah.
I think with Kerr at the helm and I think this team is so talented. I think Jordan Poole is such a great basketball player. I got to go with the Warriors and just the talent that they bring on the court, especially when it comes to the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, so many good matchups. Western Conference, you even got Jazz, Mavs, 2 in that conference as well. I think the Mavs could take that one. Luka Doncic always just electric in the playoffs. Just so many good matchups. And I think another one wanted to talk about and highlight is the Bulls. They've been so bad against those top teams this year, and I think the Bucks is just a nightmare. It's a nightmare matchup for them. The reigning champions, I think Giannis, he's just going to be back. I still think the Bucks, they're going to win the entire thing this year, and I think they're gonna take the Bulls in 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a clean sweep. The Bulls have struggled all year against top teams. I think DeMar DeRozan's a great player. I'm happy that he had a kind of renaissance of a season. But if you want to talk about players that really have not been able to perform to the same level in the playoffs, he is right at the top of that list. Vucevic, even though he was an all-star a couple years ago, he just isn't replicating what he was. I mean, Giannis is the best player in the NBA for my money. I'll take it to them, and they're probably my pick to come out of the East again.
Yeah.
Dan, I got to go with your Sixers, man. I think this team is special. I'm going with the Sixers.
Against the Raps. They want revenge from that Kawhi shot.
Look, I want you to be right so bad. But I mean, I think Embiid, he's my MVP. Tyrese Maxey. I mean, he's a case for most improved. Tobias Harris. He's
Thibault, I mean, this team is
Thibault. My problem is James Harden's going to have to score more in the playoffs. I mean, he's a great facilitator, and I love him for that. But when teams are going to start doubling and tripling Embiid, we're going to need James Harden to step up. And it just makes me – I think we can beat anybody. I think if we play the best possible basketball, we have the star power and the talent to take anyone on. It's just a matter if we have it up here this year.
Dude, I trust the process 100%. You heard it here first. I think the Sixers are winning the chip this year. Bring it home.
We see Embiid almost every year, just walking through the tunnel after he loses. Just disappointed. I think he's gonna be back though. I think he's even if when do they announce MVP? Is it after the playoffs?
So I don't. They switch it up a lot. Like they was after
if he doesn't win that, I know he wants that MVP, and I'm not so sure he's gonna get it.
I think that's ridiculous. I think you're right. I think Jokic is going to get it, but it is unreal to me for all the things that he's done this year. And he's first player, most 40-10 games in NBA history in a season. First international player to win a scoring title. First center winning scoring title since Shaq. First center to average 30 since the 80s. This guy is on an unreal tear. He is Godzilla in a basketball uniform.
Can he get it done in the playoffs? Can he do it?
It's got to. But at the end of the day, I feel like he's never – the one time he's had the true partner in crime, I feel like, scoring-wise, was Jimmy Butler. And Kawhi hit that shot. But we were right there. Who knows what could have happened. But.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, shifting gears, let's just do a quick little recap of the Masters. Did you guys watch? What do you think? I believe it was Scottie Scheffler who won.
Yeah. Scottie he had control basically from the second day on. Tiger had a little bit of run. He was -1 after the first round, but he made the cut and started to fall off. I think the big takeaway is Scottie Scheffler, another really young golfer, third guy, 25 or younger, joined Spieth and Tiger. It was a fun event to watch. The course was kicking a lot of guys' butts, though. A lot of wind this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I loved seeing one of my favorite soccer players, Harry Kane, went out. He went out, was doing some analysis. But yeah, I'm not such a golf guy, but seeing Tiger, after what he's been through, go, make the cut. He played solid golf, and I think we saw his age kind of showed how he deteriorates as a golf match kind of goes on, mentally, physically. But I loved watching the competition. Congrats to Scheffler. Love seeing young guys taking over sports today.
Yeah, like I said, I'm with you, Aaron. I'm not really a golf guy, but I don't know much about Scheffler. But obviously, it's always cool to see an American. I love when Americans win.
Yeah,
whether it be the Masters, the U.S. Open, or whatnot. So that was really cool to see. All right, let's get into best bets, guys. How'd you do last week?
I went 0-1. I had Chimaev to win in the first round. He won by decision. I'm still happy. That is my guy. It was a crazy fight. I'm not going to complain. Great UFC slate last weekend. But I'm going back again with another UFC pick this weekend. I'm going Bilal Muhammad money line against Vicente Luque. Bilal Muhammad, this is the second time they fought. Muhammad lost the first time, and Luque's actually been pretty hot. His only loss recently coming to Stephen Thompson. But I think this is a good opportunity. I think the stylistically, Muhammad matches up really well here and can take this victory.
Last week. So my bet this week, Hornets +5.5. The game actually started. So talk about my bet last week a little bit. I went 1-0 with Tottenham money line. One of the easiest bets you could have picked. Beat Aston Villa 4-0. Just an emphatic victory. This team's rolling, going to finish top 4. Antonio Conte, just one of the best managers in the world, just doing unbelievable things with this team. And then today, my reasoning behind the Hornets. They're actually down 2 right now, shortly into the first quarter. I think this Hornet team, they as I mentioned earlier, they always seem to kind of come together, win on the big occasion, and kind of shock the world. And I think LaMelo Ball playing, he started well in this game with the 3-pointer already. So yeah, I think 5.5 points is definitely you're definitely going to be able to cover that.
And then my final bet, I also went 0-1 last week. I took the Angels on opening night against the Astros, and I forgot how good that Astros offense is. But this week I'm going to switch over to the NL Central. I've got the Cardinals at plus 130 over the Milwaukee Brewers. That game is tomorrow night at 5:15 Eastern. You got Adam Wainwright dealing for the St. Louis Cardinals, the seemingly ageless Adam Wainwright. He turned in 6 shutout innings for a quality start and the win on opening day against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And then Brandon Woodruff, he's a great pitcher. You can't trust, obviously that number of 17.18 ERA is inflated because of his poor start against the Cubs in the second game of the season for the Brewers. I think this is going to be the battle this season in the NL Central. And I think a lot of people are underestimating how good this and how well-rounded this Cardinals team is. I think they come out firing, swinging the bat. Goldschmidt, Arenado, Molina. You got Pujols back. He just homered for the first time since 2011 as a Cardinal. Edman, Carlson. I mean, this is an absolutely stacked Cardinals ball club. So I have to go with them at plus 130. I think that value is too good to turn down. And then I would probably go with the run line. I would take the Cardinals then on the run line if you're going to bet on them to win the game. I think they win this one 5-4. And with the over being 8, the over-under being 8, I would take the over. I think these are two very talented offenses. So I think the Cardinals come out on top in this one. All right.
Last thing, wanted to quickly mention Canes baseball. How good do we look, Julian?
Oh man, dude, we swept the Cavaliers. Have you watched the team yet? I haven't been able to watch, but I've not been in person, but I've been following. I've been following online. It's so cool to see. These are the cardiac Canes, as we're known. So it's just so awesome to see. And this team is raking, and it's awesome.
Yeah, awesome to see how well we're doing all sports this year, honestly, except for football. But brighter days are ahead there with Cristobal.
It's Canes season right now. It's Canes season.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that'll do it for Canes Takes week 9. I'm Julian. These are my co-hosts. That's my co-hosts, Aaron and Dan, and we'll be back next week. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.